All right.
Do it.
Well, it's still going to be closed. So as long as you're here.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're not here.
Yeah. Good evening. We are going to call the meeting of the Ramona Unified School Board to order. What's going to happen is we're going to call the meeting to order, say the pledge, go into closed session for 60 minutes, come back and hold open session, and then we may have to return to closed session if business spills over into closed session, past our 1 hour of closed session. So if you would join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to adjourn into closed session. Danny, sorry. We probably should have told you. 7 o'clock is a good time because that for you to attend, for you to arrive so that we can get started in open session. So we're going to try to get back on time and get going at 7 p.m. I would like to welcome you to the September 11th meeting of the Ramona Unified School District Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, excuse me. I'd like to start out tonight with the presentation of the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, will you all please rise and remove your hats for the presentation of the colors by the Ramona High School Navy Junior ROTC. And commanding the guard this evening is Cadet Class Nadine Cinema. Carrying the organizational flag is Cadet Lieutenant Junior Grade Diego Solis. The rifle bearers and Cadet Ensign Jason Salazar, Cadet Senior Chief Petty Officer Kenny Redmond. Please remain standing until the color guard has left the area. Please place your right hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you all, and Commander, we'd like to express our appreciation for the color guard presenting the colors to us tonight. It's a treat, truly is.
You know where we're at.
Remember you said that. All right. Couple of comments before we start our order of business is this is September 11th. This is a significant day in United States history. The attack on the World Trade Center's North Tower alone made 9/11 the deadliest act of terrorism in history of the United States. Taken together with the four crashes, total killed were 2,996 people, including the hijackers, and thousands more. And injured thousands more, excuse me. The death toll included 265 Americans on 4 planes, from which there were no survivors. 2,606 in the World Trade Center and the surrounding area, and 125 at the Pentagon. Most who died were civilians, as well as 343 firefighters, 72 law enforcement officers, 55 military personnel, and the 19 terrorists. More than 90 countries lost citizens during this attack. Since the attack, we have lost just as many Americans who responded to the event through occupational or exposure-related issues. So I would ask that we take a second to recognize the significance in history and those who have lost their lives since. Thank you very much for indulging me on that.
As a personal request, I invite everyone to stand and join me in a moment of silence to honor Charlie Kirk, a great American who was tragically assassinated yesterday at the age of 31.
Thank you all. Please have a seat.
Thank you, Darren.
Next item on the agenda is to recognize that there is a full quorum of board members here tonight. I will now report out on action taken in closed session. In closed session today, by motion of trustee Don Perfect, seconded by trustee Dan Summers, the Board of Education voted to uphold and suspend the expulsion order of student 25-01 from San Pasqual Union High School District for the remainder of the order by the following roll call vote. Ayes were Roger Dome, Dan Summers, Darren Drum, Don Perfect. There was one abstention, and that was Maya Phillips. Closed session today, item number 2. In closed session today, by motion of trustee Dan Summers, seconded by Roger Dome, the Board of Education approved the resignation and release agreement between the district and an expanded learning site lead by the following roll call vote. Ayes were Roger Dome, Darren Drum, Don Perfect, Maya Phillips, Dan Summers. There were no members in opposition and no abstentions. Next item on the agenda are the instructions for addressing the governing board.
Thank you for making this shorter. Instructions for addressing the governing board. The Ramona Unified School District values your participation in school board meetings. To support your engagement, please follow these guidelines. Orange request to be heard cards are available for those wishing to speak on any agenda item or under item E, public comment. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, a total of 15 minutes per item. Submit completed cards to the recording secretary before the item begins. Late cards will not be accepted. Address all comments to the board and be respectful to others. Public comment is for topics not listed on the agenda and follow the same time limits. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is item C5. This is approval of the agenda.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item C6, which is the approval of the consent calendar.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Dr. Thurman, you have an announcement to make?
Absolutely. I would like to welcome Mrs. Brittany Workman to the position of RHS Ramona High School Assistant Principal. Thank you for being here tonight. You want to introduce your husband?
This is my husband, David Workman.
Thank you guys for being here tonight. We're excited to start this leadership journey. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Welcome. It's not a welcome to the district. It's a welcome to the position. She's been with us for 6 years now. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. And I think I said this last meeting to a new union president. Welcome to the jungle. Next item on the agenda is item C7, which is approval of the August 14th 2025 regular meeting minutes.
I move approval.
Oh, that was on consent. I apologize.
You read it, so
He made a motion to approve. It's already been approved.
Okay.
My bad. Next item on the agenda is recognitions and presentation. This is section D. D1 is school site showcase, which is Ramona High School.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hey there.
I think I have to sit here.
Yep.
I got my instructions. Thank you. Thank you all for allowing us to be here. Want to acknowledge our staff and faculty and staff behind us. They've done a fantastic job the start of this year. They're doing so well. They're rowing so well and hard and putting their energy into those oars that we have, moving our needle forward. It's a pleasure to go into the classrooms and see the instruction that's going on and the care and the relationships that they have. I want to thank the board for coming in. Just maybe a week or two ago, walking classrooms with us and really asking really good questions about high quality instruction. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then celebrating our school culture in the pep rally. So I want to thank everyone for that. I welcome Brittany. She has a really good mentor for the next 2 days. Teresa Grace has done a fantastic job. She's going to onboard you very well. Rob Charlton behind me, we've been trying to create everything we possibly can to welcome you to Ramona High School, and you are a Bulldog through and through, so we're just going to continue to do this work all together. But everybody didn't show up to hear me talk. It's actually Ingrid's show. She's done a fantastic job putting together a lot of really cool stuff that you guys are going to hear. And when I stop talking, I'm going to pass around. This Friday night is our faculty appreciation night, and this is the press guide, the media guide for the game, football game, and you're going to be able to read everything that we do and honor our faculty. And the kids really do a fantastic job saying thank you, and that's a really good push for us in regards to gratitude. And so it's not just something that we talk about as adults, but we have to share that with our students and allow them that opportunity to show gratitude as well, and understand that they are at the forefront of everything that we do. So without any further ado, I would like Ingrid, thank you for meeting with me several times, and you're going to do fantastic.
Thanks, Dan.
Let's try that.
Okay, does this one work?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I was.
enough, yes.
Yes, we started with Blue Friday.
It is. You're good.
And so we have Blue Friday tomorrow, and many students participate, and it helps our football team get hyped for their games coming out the week. We kicked off our ASD event with the first rally of the year on August 29th to celebrate back to school and get students spirited for that night's football game. It was the first home football game of the year, and Ramona students showed their spirit by dressing in their best country attire for our street session. Then we're going to go into our sports highlights. Football had a big win on the road versus Vista High School, 41-14 on September 5th. This Friday, September 12th, the football program will honor any RHS faculty that has left a positive mark on the football field. Players all chose faculty members to wear their away white game jersey to run the game and run out of three-game Bulldog with their teacher or faculty member. Long-standing traditional themes for the fall football season is baseball and field programs and discuss. The JV football team is 2-1 and has their week
Number 4 game canceled due to Valhalla High not having enough players to play Ramona this week. These sophomores will be brought up to support the varsity and get some varsity game night experience. Next we have highlights from volleyball. Sean Back is his first season at the helm and has the ladies playing solid volleyball against a strong schedule. The team is 5-11 and preparing for league play in a few. Now with golf, girls golf, team roster has grown to 10 golfers. The team is looking forward to making big strides and continuing to learn this complex sport. Dean Welch, head coach. And then with boys water polo, the boys water polo has started off 0-5 with a difficult preseason and league. I'm sorry.
Turn it on.
Then with girls flag football, In just their second season of this rising sport, the Dogs are 3-6 and just won their first league game Monday night. The ladies host number 3 in the county, Mission Hills, Thursday tonight, and I think I drove past and I thought they were doing pretty good. So, coming up, RHS ASB is currently in the process of planning Club Rush, which we will have on September 19th, next Friday, at lunch to give clubs on our campus a chance to gain members and show the school the opportunities that they provide. Next, with some highlights from NJROTC. This June, the following cadets graduated from NJROTC Leadership Academy: Kira Salazar, Danny Munoz, Gio Velho, Tristan Van Andel, Eduardo Ortiz, Dominic Zito, and Jason Salazar. Senior Emma Burgess served as the assistant officer in charge of the academy, held here at RHS for 4 days, which included 128 trainees. Cadets Mia Salazar, Sybil Beck, and Lotion Johansson were graduates of the NJROTC Sail Academy held in Coronado, CA. Sail Academy was also held in June. Next, with our CTE pathways, ornamental horticulture and landscape design. The Ramona FFA entered the Student Landscape Contest at the San Diego County Fair, where we won the San Diego Floral Association Best Youth Drought Tolerant Award, the San Diego Botanic Garden Youth Award, and received a blue ribbon for our landscape. With agri-science, agricultural mechanics, and welding, the San Diego Fair, we had 13 students and 15 animal projects. In ag mechanics, we had 66 entries at the San Diego County Fair and 50 at the Ramona Junior Fair. The Ag Mechanics program won all 8 categories at the San Diego County Fair. The majority of the students received blue ribbons. Our winners were in MIG Welding, Austin Fulgham; in Flux Welding, Ethan Browning; in Small Metal, Aiden Collier; in Small Electrical, Gabriel Bates; in Medium Welding, Kelsey Weller; in Large Welding, Ethan Brownie and Kelsey Weller; in Large Wood, Amia Garcia; in Group Project, Braden Rolham, Travis Fall, Tyler Runion. Grand Champion was Ethan Browning and Kelsey Weller. Overall Small Division winner was Adrian Collier. Overall medium division winner was Kelsey Weller, and our overall large division winner was Ethan Brownie and Kelsey Weller. Next, in livestock, Samuel Makeda placed 8th overall in the county for swine showmanship. Carly Larzavlere placed 1st, in the breeding beef showmanship and 6th overall in the master in showmanship. Riley Kirkland got 4th in the novice swine showmanship. The majority of the students placed blue ribbons at the top of their classes for the market and showmanships. Now, highlights from the Ramona Junior Fair, where we had 30 students and 45 animal projects participate. From Ag Mechanics, we had Cody Sheppy, a senior, who competed with who was the large mixed materials champion. Ethan Browning, a senior, who was the medium mixed materials champion. Connor Nelson, a senior, was a small mixed materials. Ethan Browning and Kelsey Weller, senior group champion. Kelsey Weller was the senior large medal. Colby Smith, senior, who was a senior medium medal. Adrian Collar, small medal. Amia Garcia, large wood, and Mackenzie Fraining, small wood. Moving on with livestock, Kelsey Weller was champion for breeding buck and reserve champion for overall breeding goat. Kelsey Weller was also champion for goat showmanship and went to master in showmanship. Sarah Neafield was 3rd overall in market rabbit. Riley Kirkland, champion novice of swine showmanship, went to master in showmanship. Kylie Strayton, 2nd in novice swine showmanship, and went to the masters for showmanship. We had many class winners for market, all in species, as well as many students making finals for their species and showmanship. We have Josie Sand for top 3 in the sheep carcass contest. Kelsey Weller was 1st and 2nd in county goat. Jacob Parker was 1st for county beef. Matthew Parker 6th for county beef. Chloe May 9th for county beef. Madeline Kennedy 3rd in dairy goat. Mackenzie Franey 4th in dairy goat. And to finish up, just some ASB plans for the upcoming months. RHS ASB has begun planning our homecoming week plans, including coming home night parade and community event on the 2nd of October, and our homecoming rally and football game on the 3rd. Lastly, we will finish off the week with homecoming dance on that Saturday. Finally, coming into this new school year, RHS has implemented a few changes, a major one being the phone policy for students. While this is a big change for students, I think that it has been well received by many of our teachers and our students, and I think teachers are doing a very good job at implementing it into our classrooms. I myself think that I am more productive at school, and that especially in ELT where it is easy to just go on your phone and not do schoolwork, that when you do not have your phone, to have it as easy to access, that it is a lot easier and you're a lot more productive in class. And that is all I have for RHS. Thank you.
As you can see, that was fantastic, by the way. Sorry, Mike, got it. Am I on? Okay. As you can see, there's a lot going on at the high school, and we want to highlight all the students. They're doing a lot of this great work, and you could hear how much the CTE programs are so valuable to them and how they make connections to the school. I think it's paramount as we look through this and now into the future about how our kids are doing and what really brings them to school. And this is a powerful, powerful way to connect them to school. You can see in the Sentinel this week, you're going to talk about a few of our, I believe it's 6. There were 6 Ramona graduates that started out in these CTE programs and that have flourished and blossomed in life beyond high school, right? So college and career ready, and for them to do it. So again, it's fantastic to highlight all those students, ROTC, just a multitude of things, and it's really, really important for us, all of us, to understand how important these programs are to our kids. So thank you guys for the opportunity to be here. Ingrid, I'm super proud of you. That was a lot to read. It was really awesome. We'll continue to do the good work, right? And so thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to the future.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is item D2, which is an even more detailed report from our student board members. Actually, I'm going to ask each one of our student board members, as this is their first time joining us this academic year, to introduce themselves, give us just a little piece about them. Before we start, I just want to, number one, welcome you to this process and to this governance team. Your input and your opinion is valued by this body. I would encourage you to study the agenda ahead of time and identify items where you have strong opinions. And if I fail to look your way or call upon you, please start giving me some sign. Throw something at me, like, "Hey, please, we've got some comments over here." In the past and currently, actually, I do have a high school student that attends Ramona High School, and I have sought and will continue to seek their input on items that are specific to kids. It's been a long time since any of us were in your shoes. And it's really important that we get your perspective on many of these items. So please do not be shy. If you have any questions, please reach out to your site administrator. Or if your site administrator is okay with this, please reach out to me or Dr. Thurman for clarifications. We use a lot of terms that some of us still don't understand. Acronyms where we have a cheat sheet with acronyms on it. And these folks have been on this board a long time. So we encourage you, please, this is your opportunity to let us hear your voice. Take advantage of that opportunity. Having said that, Eden, I will turn it over to you. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you represent tonight, what grade you're in, and anything else that you think is appropriate or important for us to know about you.
I'll do that. Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is working. All right, so my name is Eden Hollander, and I represent Montecito High School. I am a senior, and the things that are going on at Montecito, or I'm going to talk about the vital ones, or some of the stuff that I'm a part of, would be construction, which, before I go on, like, all the teachers here, they're great. I love them, and they love us. Like, even if some people are obnoxious, like, you know, everyone gets their stuff done, you know, and they understand we're all people. And anyways, so this construction class, and they have been collaborating with a new partner. I think it's, if I could describe it as a business, it would be called, if you know it, Big Brother and Big Sister. They are a Southwestern Carpenters show, if that's right. And also, they have been participating or collaborating with Skills Jam for 2 years, which it makes documentaries on these students that are in construction and sees where they go and interviews them. And you can watch the documentaries on YouTube if you search up Skills Jam, and it's cool just seeing your friends on there, just out there. And also for ASB, there's, how do I describe it? It's like motivation for students somehow. That's somehow. I bet, like, so I'm a little bit awkward right now. I'm kind of.
We all are.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like we try and represent the students, like, and also encourage them to do better. And like this week we've been working on suicide posters for suicide awareness and placing it up, and we made very great stuff. If you walk out there, you'll see it. It's great. And also, well, man, why did I forget what I was talking about? Yeah. Sorry, I'm nervous. It's like a lot of people. Sorry, I should talk into this. Jeez, why did I forget it? I think it'll come to me later, but there's also one thing that isn't about Montecito, is that there was a recent shooting. I heard there's a recent shooting in Colorado. I believe 2 students died, and it's very sad to see because this has been happening all over the country for many years now, and I would like to pay a moment of respect to the families and students that lost their lives or even lost their friends and got traumatized by the whole experience. Thank you.
Eden, I want to thank you for that, especially the last part. Very thoughtful. Thank you for bringing that to this meeting tonight. We appreciate it. Danny, you're next up. So please, just a few words on who you are, who you represent, what grade you're in, and what else, anything else you'd like to share with this board.
I'm Danny Booth. I'm representing Mountain Valley Academy. I'm a senior, and all I really have to say is MVA's enrollment is up. Our 8th grade class is actually really big this year, which is really nice. And I want to touch on our policies. Our policies, like the no phone policy, the dress code, and also like the clarified late work policy, all align with RHS, which I think is really great because we have a lot of students who also take classes over there, including myself. And we're trying to basically just lay out our expectations this year really well. So she goes into each classroom, talks to every single grade, lays out expectations herself with like a presentation, and our year has been going really well. And we have Fall Carnival coming up, so PTSA events. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny. Ingrid, we've heard a lot from you already, but please, and it was wonderful, please introduce yourself to the group.
My name is Ingrid Ferguson. I'm a senior at Ramona High School, and just like some things, involved. I'm ASB president there, and yeah, that's a little bit about me. But yeah, you heard a lot about our school, but we're very excited for the new year, and it's going very well.
Thank you very much. So every month we would appreciate a report of happenings at your school sites, and then again, your participation. We do understand that this is a weeknight, which also means it's a school night. If you do need to excuse yourself to study or get a good night's rest, do not be bashful about it. Please just slide out quietly. We completely understand. But again, we do welcome your participation. So welcome, and thanks for being here tonight. Any comments or questions for the from the board to the board student board members?
Just looks like we have a great class of student board members. Thank you so much for being here this month and every month.
Right, we appreciate you. And our emails are on the district website. If you have commentary that you'd like to provide us, please feel free to email us.
So Eden can email us when he remembers, right?
Right?
You can email us when you remember what you were going to say. Yeah. Right.
All right, thank you all. Moving right along. Next item on the agenda is item D3, which is a report from the California School Employees Association, Chapter 733.
Good evening. We do not have much to report this month. We are just actually having our first meeting ourselves this next Tuesday at 4:30 at the Ramona Community Campus. I'm sure I'll have more to report after I start receiving reports myself from our membership and our site representatives. So next month, but we're looking forward to this school year.
So Jeremiah, does that still mean you're interim?
Yes, for the time being, until our regular election cycle for the new officers doesn't normally happen until January. At this first meeting of the year, we will decide how we want to approach, but we do have several vacancies, including my vacated vice president position that need to be filled. So we're looking at those first.
So Jeremiah, remember these words. There's nothing more permanent than a temporary fix.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is item D4, which is a report from the Ramona Teachers Association. And I think Ingrid probably stole a bunch of your thunder already.
I represent all schools in the district.
Well said.
She covered RHS for me. We do want to acknowledge RHS, the many community service things that our NJROTC program does throughout the entire community, not just our school. They present colors at both school and community functions, as you saw tonight. They also help set up and clean up after school and community events such as football games, graduations, and so many more. And these teachers, Commander and Snow and Jordan, are amazing, and their students, and they put in a significant amount of time, and we just want to share our appreciation. To create gallery and has received a grant for a mural workshop, and that workshop will be directed by Daniel Toledo, none other than a RHS graduate who lives and works in Long Beach as a professional muralist. The workshop is free and open to current RHS students and will happen October 4th and 5th. And Daniel's actually going to be coming by RHS and visiting the art classes the Friday before the workshop to talk about his work. 8th grade students at OPMS got the chance to enjoy a book tasting event in their library. Language arts teachers worked with the librarian to organize the library like a restaurant experience where students rotated through different genres or themes, browsing titles and recording their impressions to discover new books that they might want to read from their own school library. The start of the school year at Barnett has been off to a strong and busy start. In just a few weeks, they have hosted a successful book fair, welcomed families at back to school night, participated in valuable professional development, and are already halfway through MAP testing. The Bobcats are thriving on campus, and we're excited for what this year holds. Back to school nights have been happening across the entire district. Teachers and staff have prepared to welcome families to create a strong partnership for student education in Ramona. We want to thank cabinet members as well as board members who have attended or plan to attend the different sites to show our teachers and staff you are invested as well. It definitely takes a community. We also want to acknowledge the emotional week for students, staff, and families with remembrance of 9/11 today, as well as significant events yesterday in our country, and some significant events in our community over the last week or so. With that, we want to acknowledge the staff at Hanson, RCC, and district office. Our elementary schools have run many drills over the years, but this is the first time we have actually had to evacuate an entire campus and reunify students with their parents. The staff at Hanson was amazing as they supported their students. The staff at RCC was welcoming and accommodating as they had to shift to support all of the Hanson staff, students, and families. And the district staff, including cabinet, directors, other admin, as well as our TOSAs, all stepped up to support in any way necessary. They put on their vests, and every person jumped into action to make sure student safety was our top priority. We want to make sure you all know that it was noticed, it was appreciated, and you are all rock stars. And thank you to RHS staff who was able to attend this evening.
Thank you very much, Corey. And throughout the meeting, we are probably going to echo your comments about staff's performance in the evacuation of Hanson. Our goal is to always get better. We will take lessons learned. I've had this conversation with the superintendent a few times. Every opportunity is an opportunity to get better, but boy, we made sure that our kids were safe, felt loved. We have 3-year-olds. So kudos to staff, everybody. And I've asked the superintendent to put a little something together for us later in the meeting, but thank you for recognizing that. Next item on the agenda is item E1, which is public comment. Roger, do we have any orange request to be heard cards? Okay, moving right along. Next item on the agenda is item F5, which is approval of resolution number 2025-2026-01 regarding mandatory school start times.
Good evening, Governing Board. Tonight I bring forward a resolution 2025-2026-01. As you know, Senate Bill 328 back in 2019 required that all middle and high schools start at 8 and 8:30. That is schools that are not considered of rural designation. Ramona Unified has this resolution will affirm our status as a rural district and allow us to begin the conversations and look at the flexibility in not aligning to SB 328, so potentially changing start times across the district. This resolution is not an approval to change start times, it's just an approval to start having those conversations and planning to see if that's what's best for our community. This is a discussion, possible action item.
This has been a long time in the works. Thank you for coming up with this approach to the issue.
Do we have to make a motion to talk about it? It's a discussion possible.
I mean, I'll move approval.
I'll second it so we can discuss.
Questions for staff?
For me, I think I already know the answer, but how will this, if we're able to have a start time of 7:30, how will that affect sports at the high school?
So right right now, this particular resolution isn't about start times yet. It will have, I have put a memo out to staff that talks about a task force that we will bring together. I have RFIs written, ready to go out tomorrow, because we do have to jump on this fairly quickly for an implementation of next school year. So for our athletic director, our transportation director, our before and after school care, I have questions already established and ready to, they're up on my computer right now, ready to email out tonight after the board meeting, so that we can start getting this information back into the hands of our committee and on to a survey that we'll send out to all of our families, so that families of both elementary and secondary and staff of both elementary and secondary can weigh in, and then that will all come to the committee, and then we will make recommendations and bring that back to the board.
And if the recommendation ends up being to change the start times, then we have to submit that to the state. And then these are going to be the reasons why, of course. Why would we be doing it, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll have a really solid rationale for the board when we do bring whatever the plan is forward as to what time elementary would start and what time secondary would start. And yes, that would go into our instructional minutes. The crunch for us happens as we've kind of shared in board updates. We're moving the registration timeline from July 15th to April. With that means all of our parent handbooks have to be done ahead of time. All of those bell schedules have to be done ahead of time. So normally we bring instructional minutes to you towards the end of the school year for the next school year. We'll have to be doing that right after the first of the year so that all that paperwork can be ready and accurate for all of our families for the new registration window in April.
Thank you for making that effort and for organizing the timeline for us and for everybody involved. That's helpful.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's important for all of us to remember that this decision is not, or this recommendation is typically not made in a vacuum. We share the buses amongst all of our sites. So when we change start times here, it affects a trickle down to start times elsewhere based on bus availability. So there are a lot of moving parts, and I appreciate staff's willingness to take a look at it, and I know that what I just said, they're going, yeah, we know. Yeah, we know. They've been through this before, but we don't think of the details that staff goes into. So we look forward to hearing a recommendation and seeing what's best for our students. Any other comments for staff?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing. I really appreciated bringing it forward because I've just seen so many students. I mean, the whole goal of starting later was so that students would actually get more rest. But what I'm seeing is that students end up staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning because they're trying to get all the sports in. And so then after sports, then they do their homework, and they're not actually getting any rest.
We do see, and more for presentation at a later time, but we do definitely see an academic strain on our athletes in particular and those students who are looking to work after school when the secondary schools go later. So that will absolutely be part of the discussion and consideration as we do it. On the elementary side, we have lots of families who now can just drop off and go to work. And don't have before school care. So we also have to look at how is our before school care program. Can we figure out staff? There's a lot of different pieces, and just getting that input back from staff and families is just a really important part of this process. So we'll be moving on it pretty swiftly after we have the resolution approved tonight, and then bringing that back to you after the first of the year.
Any other questions or comments for staff? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item H4. This is the first reading of updated changes to board policy number 3300, expenditures and purchases.
Good evening, Governing Board. Board Policy 3300 establishes parameters and delegation of authority for expenditures and purchases within the district. Currently, the policy does not specify a dollar limit for purchases of supplies, equipment, or services that may be approved by the superintendent or designee without prior board approval. The proposed revisions and discussion needed this evening would establish a clear dollar threshold for such purchases and would still maintain the requirement that the board shall review all transactions entered into by the superintendent or designee every 60 days. This is a first reading.
Oh. I'm going to suggest that we put in a $50,000 amount. I just don't see doing it less than that really benefiting this process of why we're doing it. And so a lot of the contracts end up being just right below that. It just kind of makes sense. So I'm suggesting that. And when I say contracts, I mean the ones that are really critical to move the district forward. And oftentimes they're just waiting for this board meeting and for us to approve things.
So I agree with you, Roger. We have appropriated the funds when we approve the budget. We have a professional, highly capable staff that we trust. I personally trust them. If there's wrongdoing, then we'll deal with it. But I just don't feel that historically we have empowered staff to make these good decisions. If there are decisions that we disagree with, then we should dive into it in the budgetary process. So I support you. I'm interested in hearing the number. If everybody is comfortable with that number, do they want to go higher? Do they want to go lower? Or did Roger hit it right on the nose? So Dan, how about your comments?
Well, we looked at some of the expenditures in the recent past, and none of them really fit a category that was consistent. $50,000 is a lot of money, and we represent the taxpayer, and we're voting on that as well. We have to keep that in mind. 50,000 is, I'm comfortable with it. Since we don't have a history of expenditures above that at all, and if there were, then it would come back to the board anyway.
Thank you, sir. You good?
Yeah.
Dawn?
So 50 is a bit higher than I was thinking before I came into the meeting. I was thinking like 30, but honestly, the number's kind of arbitrary because I have no idea what might be coming along, whether it's a $30,000 contract or a 50. So first read, right? So this is a one-time deal. This wouldn't be locking us into a contract that would have extensions built into it and that kind of thing, right? So under what circumstance would this apply?
Yeah, I would say some of the contracts that come could be a 2 or 3 year contract. Not all of our contracts are 1 year. But this would only be in cases where there was an emergency, which is a handful, because usually the way the whole budget cycle works, and it is all planned around board meetings, so those would come to the board in the regular way. This would be for those rare circumstances on a holiday or a break or something where we need to get something in ASAP to do that, or if there's a really viable reason why it needs to be approved and sent on earlier than the regular board meeting cadence. So, and then the board meeting in the following board meeting, this particular policy calls for a review within 60 days as well. So, I envision a section of the agenda, and Mrs. Long helped me to clarify that a little better if needed, but where the board would see those contracts that were approved by myself or a designee prior to the meeting.
So, again, first read situation, right? If it's something that is that time sensitive, wouldn't it be important for the board to know about it sooner than 60-day window? Not that we would be making the decision on whether to move forward or not, but if it's something unforeseen, I would like to know that sooner.
Yeah, that number is just what's recommended with CSBA, within 60 days for the review, but that could be 30 days easily, because whenever we're making that decision, there's going to be a board meeting very soon. So
The only time that I can envision it going past 30 days would be the month of July. If there is a decision late June, we're not meeting until early August, typically.
But we continue to have board updates all year round.
Yep.
So, you
You're
know,
absolutely right.
yeah, I would expect the superintendent to let us know, like, right after it happens, you know?
Well, and again, the funding is appropriated already in the budgetary process. This is for supplies, materials, apparatus, equipment, and services.
Yes.
Um,
So I'm picturing windstorm blows down a big section of fence or a big section of roof, something that needs to be attended to right now. We're not going to meet to deal with that, right? Brian authorizes the expenditure. I would want to know that such an incident occurred.
Of course.
Sooner than 60 days, sooner than the next board meeting.
Well, and I agree with you completely. I will also add that Brian has been exceptional in keeping this board up to date with ongoing
Right.
items.
So is there any language that we could insert into this first read board policy, not because of Brian, but
Sure.
to put our intentions into writing for the future?
Yes, what do you suggest?
I don't know. I don't know. Not 60 days.
Uh,
Well, we're get,
30 days?
every time we have a board meeting, we're approving all the expenditures anyways.
Yeah, the only time that in my mind, that we would ever bump past 30 days is July. When we historically go dark, we schedule the meeting. But there could be some sort of expenditure late June. We don't meet in July, we meet sometime in August. We could go past 30 days then. I can't envision us going past 45. And if we adopted 45, we could make sure that we come back with suggested board meetings that do not exceed 45 days. So we would be meeting at least that often. And sometimes we meet early in 1 month and late in another. So we could exceed 30 days then too, based on, when we get together and horse trade for schedules. So,
What about 35 days? It will cover late meetings every month.
yeah, 35, I don't know, because we last met June 25th or 26th.
Right.
And then August 14th.
Except for summer. We can make one exception in the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just point out, this wouldn't limit or preclude the communication about that. So we still do board updates throughout July.
Right,
We
yeah.
those keep coming. So that information would come. It just would mean the formal review at a board meeting would be that 45-day time. And I was just thinking the same thing. If it was June 27th through the 30th or the first couple weeks of July, having to go, say, June 26th, say, right at that board meeting date, to the middle of October would still
Okay.
cover us if
What
it was
if-
45.
What if I'm looking at this section, expending authority, and we see some bold statement there, the superintendent or designee. Okay, the next paragraph down where it says the board shall review all transactions entered into by the superintendent or designee on behalf of the board every 60 days. What if it said the superintendent should notify the board of transactions as they occur and formally at a board meeting within 60 days?
Or you could just say, at each board meeting.
Each
You don't-
subsequent board
you
meeting
don't-
after this happens.
You don't have to say 60 days, you just say at each board meeting, because we're getting them at every board meeting anyway.
I kind of like that.
So
What's the thought on it every board meeting?
Yeah,
Or the
I was
subsequent board
just looking
meeting.
at that more informal process of letting us know.
Yeah.
Not waiting until a board meeting to know that something important happened, costing some money that wasn't planned for in advance.
And I like what you're saying, because we don't write policy for Brian. We write policy for leadership.
Right.
regardless of who's sitting in the seat.
Right.
So I do like what you're saying.
We haven't always had people in this position that were as solid in their routine communication
Right.
as we have right now.
Okay. So at subsequent board meetings, is that fair? And
The amount,
in regular updates. I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
the amount, maybe 20,000?
Okay, we hear a 20, we hear a 50, we hear maybe something else.
30.
This is what we're trying
Brian,
to do.
what's realistic? What really happens? What things do you see?
So I'm going to defer to Tori because she has more experience there on those. The contracts probably the last 6 that I've had to reach out to President Drum about were less than, well, there are actually 38 was one of them, so right from the 40 below. But there are some instances that in talking to Assistant Superintendent Long about that 50,000 would be preferred. The CSBA recommended language calls for us following contract code, which goes up to 114,000. And we, in 2-buys, I talked about some of the local districts that follow that. I'm not personally comfortable with 114,000, and that number does change periodically. So that's why we thought that 50,000 would be a good a good ceiling, honestly. So, Ms. Sloan, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that I'm in agreement with you. I believe that 50,000 would be reasonable. There are sometimes special ed contracts or things of that nature that need to be engaged in rather quickly in order to start a service. And typically those can be quite costly. And $50,000 seems appropriate based on some of the past history we've seen with contracts and things of that nature. And this would be something that we would definitely communicate in board updates to make sure that this information is known to all of you in the event that there's a contract that needs to be engaged in between board meetings, and that they would absolutely be rare circumstances.
Okay, I have to make a disclaimer. I did not speak to Tori or to Brian when I came up with the 50,000.
Okay.
I just looked at I've been looking at all the numbers, and to me that just seems to be the right threshold. Anything above that, it makes sense that we stop and vote on it and really look at the contract, because at that point it's a significant amount of money. But to me, what do we have? It's like over $60 million budget for the whole district. When we're looking at that, $50,000 is not very much money in the long term, and most of our money is going to staff. And so these services it really is a small amount. And so I just look at what is and maybe I have a different view, because I don't manage 60 million for my job, but I do manage a significant amount. And I feel like Tori and this team is very thrifty and conservative in the way they spend money. But at the same time, I recognize that you're not always going to be here. And so we want to put a policy in that will work. So I think 50,000 is conservative compared to 114,000. But also I think if you go down to 20 or 30, we would really be tying the hands of our school district, of our staff, to really do their job at a time that is really important. Otherwise, they're going to be constantly coming to us, asking us, are you okay with this? Can we purchase it now and then vote on it later? I just don't think that's a good practice of allowing something to go through and then voting it later. I think this is a better process doing it this way.
I like the 50,000. I also like the 30 days. I think 60 days is a lot of water under the bridge.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be more administratively minded for expenditures of that.
Who's willing to make a motion?
I'll make one.
One more.
Okay.
Okay. So the only change that we have is this new text in bold explaining authority. What I noticed, okay, I will just read it. The superintendent or designee may purchase supplies, materials, and so forth, in the amount such and such, and then the board shall not recognize obligations incurred contrary to board policy and administrative regulations. So what caught my attention was where are the safeguards? Because information that's being presented to the board, whether there are not obligations incurred, are contrary or not to board policy or administrative regulation. This information is presented to the board by the same superintendent who is in charge of making all those expenses. And I'm not picking on Brian, like Roger said, we need to plan for any future superintendent. We need to plan for any potential safeguards against any misuse of power of this kind. So I'm concerned that we give the power of all those expenses to the superintendent, also leave the same person in charge of presenting to us information whether or not those expenses were incurred in compliance or contrary to board policy and administrative regulations. So I'm not sure what the safeguards would be in this case and how to phrase it. If that makes sense what I said.
Well, we have lots of safeguards. We're reviewing all the expenditures every board meeting. That's one. The other one is that we have an interim report and then we have a final budget. So we have the county superintendent that's that's watching everything as well. It's not like nothing. There's no safeguards at all. But I do think that there is a balance between tying the hands of our employees and at the same time the risk of giving employees too much discretion. So I think meeting halfway is the best way. I think you're saying every 30 days. I call that review every board meeting. So I'll make a motion that we make the amount 50,000 and we change the every 60 days to every board meeting, which would be every 30 days.
I'll second that.
Comments or further discussion? We have a motion on the table and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Next item on the agenda is item H5. This is the approval of Resolution 2025-2026-04, accounting for compensated absences in accordance with GASB Statement Number 101.
Thank you, President Drum. GASB 101 is a new accounting rule issued by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board that changes how school districts must report compensated absences, such as vacation, sick leave, or other paid time off that employees have earned but not yet used. In the past, only certain types of leave were required to be reported as a financial liability in our audited financial statements. Under GASB 101, districts now have to recognize a wider range of leave types and show the dollar value of these unused days as a liability in their financial statements. In simple terms, this rule makes districts more transparent about the true cost of leave time owed to employees. Because this new standard affects the district's audited financial reports, the board must approve a resolution. The resolution formally adopts the new requirement, ensures the district remains in line with state and federal auditing rules, and is the board's official acknowledgement that the district will follow GASB 101 and report leave balances the way the new rules require.
Okay, I think this is something that's long overdue, that's needed to happen. So I make a motion of approving the resolution as written.
Second.
Any conversation or questions? I just have one clarification. We don't have a resolution stating that we shall do this. However, currently, we have been doing it the last 2 or 3 years, have we not?
Yes, we have been. However, it hasn't been to the extent as what is now a regulation in GASB 101.
And if I remember correctly, when you got here, you said, hey, I think we need to start doing this.
Correct. Now, that
Yes.
was committing some of the fund balance
okay, committing, okay.
towards unused vacation.
Yes.
And recognizing that the district has a rather large liability in that amount. This takes into account some of that, of unused vacation as well as unused sick leave, because
okay.
that can be transitioned into service credit upon retirement, which isn't necessarily a financial liability for the district, but it is a component of compensation. And not to mention, while this doesn't change our budgetary accounting, it does affect increased reported liabilities on our district audited financial statements. So you'll see different disclosures in our audited financial statements that will be presented to you in January. But we are still keeping the practice of committing a portion of our fund balance for compensated absences or unused vacation, because the liability has gone down, but it is still very significant.
All
And
right,
you'll
so
see that in the next
We
presentation.
were booking it. We were booking vacation, not sick leave.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Motion a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Next item on the agenda is item H6, which is the acceptance of Ramona Unified School District unaudited actuals as of June 30, 2025.
Thank you again, President Drum. I have the honor of presenting to you our 2024-2025 unaudited actuals report as of June 30th. And Jeremiah, would you be able to put the presentation on the screen, please? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Otherwise, I was going to ask you to advance. Thank you. In front of all of you is a copy of the slide deck for your reference. So tonight's presentation will include me speaking about the fund balances that we ended with, both in all the other funds as well as the general fund. I will also provide you with a general fund update for the 25-26 fiscal year, so that you can see how now what the ending balance for 24-25 and some changes that we've made thus far are affecting the numbers for 25-26, as well as the new and revised multi-year projection. Typically, those come forth at budget adoption and interims, but I did one based on year end so that you could now have a picture of how things are looking right at this moment and not have to wait until December for that information. And I will also discuss the road ahead. So if I may now speak to you regarding other funds. This slide 3 includes all of the other funds beyond the general fund that the district holds. Fund 8 has to do with ASB, and that these are all of the ASB funds that are at the various sites throughout the district. We have to gather their information and report all of their transactions. And I'd like to show on line 3 under Fund 8, there's a negative $40,000. That is an audit adjustment. That was a finding from 23-24's audited financials. So we had to do an audit adjustment because we didn't have all of the information for the 23-24 school year to properly report all of the transactions. So there was an audit adjustment that affected the beginning fund balance for Fund 8 in this year. That fund ended with $485,000. Fund 11 is the Adult Education Fund, As you can see, it started out with $41,000 and it ended with roughly $66,000. Fund 13, I'd like to highlight their ending fund balance. As you can see, their fund balance grew significantly from 3.3 to 4.1 million. They are absolutely required to be on a spending plan by the state of California to make sure that they don't have what they call net cash resources beyond what is considered a 6 month cushion, for lack of a better term. So we will be working with them to come up with ways to spend down this fund balance. It's been difficult because there was also a lot of one-time funds that were allocated to food and nutrition only during COVID, and for losses incurred or experienced due to supply chain issues. So there was a lot of federal funds that were allocated to Fund 13 that they had in also to spend in a certain amount of time. So those funds were used to do some improvements last year, but those were in Fund 1. So the kitchen infrastructure grants, those are in Fund 1. So that's part of the reason why they've had some growth in their fund balance. But they will be on a spending plan, and you'll see additional augmentations to their budget. Fund 17 is our special reserve fund. It grew by $87,000 thanks to interest for this last year. Fund 25 is our capital facilities fund. This is where our developer fees come in. And as you can see, between developer fees and interest, we took in almost $700,000 of revenue. And we used part of this fund to pay for some of our debt service, and that was the $550,000 there. So we have a fund balance of 1.1 in Fund 25. And what we are planning to do, because we have seen growth thanks to new projects in the community, for instance, the Lennar project, there's been several phases of that project coming through for paying developer fees. And because we have fund balance in that account, we will be utilizing that to offset a good portion of the COP payment for 25-26, and we'll be taking that burden off of the general fund for the 25-26 year. Yes.
So you mentioned the developer fees and specifically the Lennar project. At what point does the district receive those fees paid in by developers? Is it from the inception of the project, county permit approval? Is it occupancy, sale of those properties? When
It's
do we
before
see it?
sale, and it's when permits are pulled. It's not at inception, but it's when the permitting process starts. So once, I believe it's even before they break ground.
So, like, we saw a map circulated recently about another housing project, and I understand the reason that we see a map like that is so that we can have educational facilities ready for those students on day one of occupancy of those proposed residences. At what point do we see developer fees from a project like that? Since they sent us a map.
Yes, they did send a map because it is with the planning group right now. It all depends on when they start wanting to pull their permits. It could be, it really could be at any time. They didn't give us a time frame, but when we asked for more specifics, like we wanted to know the square footage to kind of get an idea of what types of homes would be coming in and to get kind of a revenue estimate, they did say that they would start, it would be within a couple years.
Okay.
So they said like 2 years.
Okay.
So I don't know, I have any more information than that, other than it was initially set up to be a potentially like a 60-some dwelling project, and it's now in the high 80s. So they revamped, and we didn't get a map the first go around when we did let them know that we would be impacted at our elementary school site.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome. I would also like to continue on and highlight Fund 40. This is our capital outlay projects. We've been transferring $250,000 into this fund for the last couple of years, and we are budgeted to do so as well in 25-26. So we have, with the transfers in and the revenues of interest growth, we have $510,000 in this fund, and it is our plan to utilize these funds for fencing projects, and we are planning to start the fencing project at RCMS or RCC very soon, and getting through that with a timeline and a scope for the project so that it can go out to bid here in the next month or so. And you will be seeing that come forth to you for approval of the bids very soon. And I'll be providing you a timeline in an update once I have that. But it's definitely progressing forward. And lastly, I want to highlight Fund 67. I spoke to this fund last year. It's our smallest, it's one of the smallest funds. This was established when we were self-insured. And quite a few years ago, the district, well before my time, changed from being self-insured and went with SEBA. And, you know, when we did that, we then had to, we no longer had to have the reservations and the reserves for being self-insured that we needed and were required to hold for outstanding claims and such. So we've confirmed that there's no more outstanding medical claims from when we were self-insured, so we can actually start work on dissolving this fund and diverting these funds back to the general fund. So there will be some work being done to do that. I've had to work with the county office on what steps need to be taken with the self-insurance to make sure that we're following the appropriate steps that are necessary. So you will soon be receiving a resolution that would be to close this fund and then divert these funds to Fund 1.
Are there any restrictions on this fund?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So slide 4 discusses the general fund balances and the work that we did during the year end. There was a focus again on maximizing restricted funding resources as much as possible. We did have some carryover in resource 3310, which is IDEA funds that we were able to maximize, and that was able to help offset some of the general fund contribution to special ed. We also had carryover funds for the special ed preschool program, which were fully spent and will now only have current year allocations to spend. We also have 35 restricted resources that we reviewed during the closing process. There is still quite a few categorical programs that have come back since the recession period. Last year we had over 50 restricted resources, and that was because of all of the ESSER and GEAR funds that were COVID related that were sunsetting. So they've definitely come down in quantity, but we do still have several multi-year grants that are still active and make up the most of the restricted ending fund balance that you will see on the upcoming slides. And those in particular are educator effectiveness, which is through June 30th of 2026. There's the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. That's through June 30th of 2028. And the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant, which spending is allowed through June 30th of 2026. So in the next few slides, I'm going to pepper you with a lot of numbers, so I apologize. I'll hit the high points. If there's any point you would like me to stop or have a question, please let me know, and I'll stop what I'm doing and I'll make sure to answer your questions. But as you can see here, total general fund revenues on the unrestricted side were $56,220,000. That is because of an $11 million contribution to the restricted general fund, and that is comprised solely of special education and routine restricted maintenance. By far and large, of that 11 million, special education is the bulk of that. Our LCFF revenue sources in line 3 are 62 million, almost 63. And our total expenditures for the unrestricted general fund were 56,486,000, and the restricted side was 30,141,000. So as you can see, we definitely had deficit spending on the restricted side in that expenditures exceeded revenues, but there was definitely an appropriate amount of fund balance to account for that, because a lot of these restricted funding sources are multi-year. And you'll see how these revenues and expenditures relate to the beginning and ending fund balances on the next slide. On this slide here, you can see, and I apologize, the numbers are small, but it's a lot of important information. As you can see here, there was a very small deficit on the unrestricted side of $266,000. On the restricted side, it was $2.5 million. I do want to call your attention to line 6, where actually I want to call your attention to all the areas where there are yellow highlights. And I'll start with line 6. The line 6, that is a restatement, and beginning this year, our auditors wanted us to start reflecting the McAllister endowment that we have in our books. So we had to do another restatement. This wasn't an audit finding, but they said going forward, we need you to book this as an asset on your books and show it in your financials, in your unaudited and as well as in your audited financials. So that's what that restatement is. The endowment plus a little bit of interest was $353,000 at the beginning of the fiscal year. And as you can see in line 15, once we closed, the endowment grew to $369,000. And the interest is what is appropriated out or given out as scholarships each year. So you will start seeing this on every single report that I provide to you at interims, budget development, unaudited actuals. You will be seeing this information going forward. I just wanted to call your attention to it because it's new. So because of that asset being recognized, that does increase the fund balance. Even though it's not spendable, it did increase the fund balance by $353,000. So
That's over 1 year, the interest?
Not that entire amount. No, that's including the principal as well. That's the entire amount.
Okay.
But the interest was the
between-
$5,199?
No, that is not. That is something totally different.
Oh, okay.
The interest is the difference between line 6
Gotcha.
and 15.
Okay.
So,
That's a pretty good return.
yes, it is.
All right.
Yeah, because it's not that endowment isn't taking in any other principal. It's interest only. So you'll begin seeing this every year going forward. Line 14 is prepaid items. That's something that has been booked before, but it wasn't this last year. And what that is there were some items that we had to recognize and pay for in advance, and rather than it be recognized as an expense in the 24-25 school year. It's being recognized as a prepaid item, and the expense is recognized in the appropriate year it happens in, which is the 25-26 school year. So nonetheless, it is a component of ending fund balance that's not spendable, and it's something that it's disclosed on the components of ending fund balance. So it's not something that you may or may not see depending on what transactions came about before year-end close. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, and because of the endowment, that affected the ending fund balance, and the ending fund balance for the unrestricted general fund is 16.6 million. The components of ending fund balance for the unrestricted side is the 17,000, which is the revolving cash fund. We have the prepaid items, the McAllister endowment, the 3% for reserve for economic uncertainties, the increase of the 2%, which is per board policy, so that we have a reserve of 5% between the two, and then our committed funds per the board resolution. And if you look in the table to the right, that includes the commitments and assignments that are part of the ending fund balance, and that's what I'd like to highlight next. So our commitments are made up of the electric bus battery replacement. We know that our electric buses are aging, and at some point we're going to have to start replacing those batteries, and those batteries can be quite costly. So this has been a reserve that the district has had set up for quite some time in anticipation of the possibility of this coming forward. And as our buses age, that is being seen as more of a likelihood, because we are starting to get towards the end of our warranties, and these electric buses that we actually have 4 down the hill right now that are at Cummins to be serviced, and we don't know when we're going to get them back at this point. Yeah, they have an extremely high demand for repairs and a shortage of mechanics, and it takes a long time to get our buses fixed when they're there.
Is there a way we can train one of our mechanics?
I don't believe that we are even equipped to do the repairs to the level that they are with the equipment that's needed. So I want to say no, that I don't think it's feasible.
Tori?
Yes.
How many electric buses do we actually have?
We have quite a few. I'm not sure of the exact number off the top of my head. I want to say it's over 10. I can get you that actual number and provide that to you and let you know exactly how many we have. I know we have our fleet is about 30 buses total, and I want to say it's at least a third.
Thank you. And the cost of maintaining the diesel buses versus the electric buses is much less. Yes?
I am not.
Kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, well, I can't personally speak to that and accurately, but I will find out and I will let you know. I want to say I know it's a bit easier in that we can do a lot of the work in-house, but I also know that the state is requiring us to, and is still progressing in forward with us having to make more of our fleet electric, and that's even following to our white fleet as well beginning next year. Next year we have to start making, I believe it's at least 10% of our new purchases, including even white fleet, we have to start making them electric.
Are you saying white fleet?
Yes, white fleet. And white fleet refers to like the vans.
Staff
the,
vehicles.
Yes, and yes, the staff, the M&O vehicles, the trucks and everything. That's white fleet.
Makes sense.
So I would like to highlight number 3 on the commitments and assignments table. So just like I introduced recognizing the liability for the compensated absences, I also believe it's very important to recognize the school site carryovers. And these are the funds that the sites fundraise and take in solely for their discretionary spending. This isn't something that the district allocates to them. This is all based on donations, fundraisers, any type of activities that they do to book fairs, anything that they do as a site to generate revenue and bring in revenue. And, you know, it's best practice to recognize that as a commitment, and that's a portion of your ending fund balance will be going solely to those carryovers in the next year. So it's $451,000, and it's sizable, and that's for all of this. That's for all of the school sites together. Compensated absences was over $1 million last year. I'm happy to report that it's less, albeit not much. However, it is less. So we are making progress in the right direction with having folks utilize the benefits that have been allocated towards them. This is just vacation only, as it states there. This isn't sick leave.
So the highlighted number 3, school site carryovers, is that part of fund balance 8, ASB?
No, that's
separate.
strictly ASB. ASB is completely different.
Okay.
In that is the associated student body and the activities that they run. This is totally different. This is maybe revenues taken in for field trips, 6th grade camp, donations, fundraisers that the schools may do outside of ASB.
To be more like the elementary schools.
Yes, a lot of it is the elementary schools, because we have more of them than we do the high schools. But there is an element of this that is the high school and the middle school as well. I just I don't have the amount in front of me to tell you specifically how much of the 451 is attributed to those two sites.
I wasn't asking that. I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I understood
Yes.
where the funds were. Okay.
Correct. Number 5 is the textbook adoptions. We have $2.1 million committed for textbook adoptions. That will slowly decrease over the out years due to planned implementations of textbook adoptions that we are required to do. And there's a schedule for that, and that will slowly decrease, as you'll see in the next couple slides. It'll decrease to 0 after, I believe, 27-28, it will be 0. Number 6 is our future COP payments. You've seen that we've been committing a COP payment and holding that aside as a commitment. Number 7, the facility improvements. I really would feel better to say that that's like facility repairs and addressing maintenance of our facilities. We've increased that amount to $3.5 million, and that's due to the fact that we have some severe needs that we need to address here soon with regards to our facilities. And unfortunately, that burden falls on our unrestricted general fund in order to do and address all of the vast facility needs that we have across the district. We have identified over upwards of $3.7 million of needs that we have to address, and that they've far surpassed that even. So we have this reserve, or this commitment, set aside, and it will slowly diminish over the next few years, as you'll see in future slides, because we will be allocating budget to address a lot of these concerns and these issues that we have. And lastly, number 8, we have this commitment here. You've seen it all year. That's because we had the medical benefit plan year realignment in that this year, because we shifted when our plan year started. It was a 10-month plan year instead of 12. And this commitment will no longer be carrying forward after this year, because we are now on a full year plan year after transitioning from October to July. Does anybody have any other questions about any information on this page?
Yes.
Yeah.
For example, commitments and assignments. Some of this money is carry over from the previous year. For example, electric batteries, that money was not spent last year. But some money is new money. For example, COP payment, of course, we pay it every year. So this new commitment is new money, right? So just wondering which expenses on this in this table are new money, all new money that we spent last year, that's new money, or carry over from the last year. For example, textbooks. Okay, so $2.1 million. Does mean, and you said it's decreasing. Does mean we had, let's say, 2.5 million last year, spent it all, and 2.1 it's new money, or we just, let's say, 2.5 million last year spent, let's say, 400,000. Now it's remaining 2.1. So what?
I wouldn't look at it as new money versus old money. What I would look at it as is we're taking a portion of our ending fund balance that we have at the end of this year, and it's being earmarked for these purposes. And it's not it's part of the ending fund balance, and that's it's not necessarily it's not new money or old money, it's what's remaining. Does that make sense?
No.
So, for example, if we think about textbook adoptions, that's lottery money. Like, we use our lottery funds to pay for all of our instructional materials. So if we don't spend everything I have in the lottery budget on those instructional materials in this year, some of that money continues into next year, and we get new money added to that as well. And then we decide to take that money, not the new for this year, 25-26, but the whatever isn't spent yet, and we commit that because we know that that's earmarked for textbooks. But then we also get, my budget comes in with the 25-26 allocation for lottery as well.
So for textbooks, for example, some of it, this money is carried over from last year, some money is added new. So we did not spend all the entire amount allocated for textbooks last year, and this is completely new, 2.1 million. That's not the case.
It's not new.
Some of it is old.
Some of it rolled over.
Rolls. It kind of is, and it kind of just depends. Like, it takes us longer than, like, we get money every year, not $1 million. So we have to save money up for a few years in order to do a K-12 adoption, because a TK-12 adoption costs close to $1 million, depending on, and more if it's science with lab materials and different things like that, right? So we have to save up money in order to then have a full K-12 adoption. So right now, we just spent some money, so we spent that down buying all the history books for K-8, and the year before that, we did high school. So we kind of do this like rolling, and then next will be English, and then we'll go into math, and kind of like that. So it'll just keep rolling as we go, but we have switched some spending so that we're pulling more out of lottery. So that's just for that little line, if that kind of helps explain.
Yes, but then we have, like the electric battery bus replacement, that line. So are we is our intention that we just hold at 300K set aside for batteries? We're not trying to build that up over years?
No, if we were wanting to build that up, it wouldn't be 300, it would be 600, it would be 900, or I'm just rounding amounts.
Right.
If it was increasing, that number would increase. It's just in a holding.
Yeah, we only see it, every so often, so
Exactly.
I don't know if it's increasing or if it isn't,
Yes.
right? That is the question.
No, that hasn't increased. Neither has the future COP payments. facility improvements did increase, and the school site carryovers is new. Compensated absences did decrease. It went from over $1 million to $934,000.
Also, again, all this 1 million was not spent, it just decreased, right?
Yes.
It's not like all million was spent and this is 900 is new money.
No.
No, just the old 1 million decreased to 900,000. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Moving forward, this slide here represents all of the budget updates that we've done to the 25-26 budget since budget adoption. Some of this is what you saw in August, but there's been a few more changes even since then. And this shows in detail whether it's an unrestricted or restricted revenue source or expenditure. The R's with an asterisk by it, they are in the they're in the restricted general fund. However, they are in a place where there's not enough funding. For instance, it's special ed, and it's going to require additional transfers of contribution from the unrestricted general fund. And actually, I've heard that number 15, that had decreased from what we had reported in August from 275,000. However, I heard that we may be having to put it back up at 275 because of
Student needs.
yes, exactly. So it may be reverting back up to the 275. Some of the items that are new since we had the last presentation was 2 additional elementary teachers for growth, one at RE and one at Hanson. We've had more growth due to the TK population and lower and elementary level populations increasing. So we've put out and hired 2 new teachers, and those costs are there. We also put in line 11 because we anticipate the possibility of having some potential vacation payouts this year. So we wanted to put some
Earmark some dollars toward that,
exactly, earmark some funds for that. We've already had a few sizable retirements so far, and we've heard that more are coming. So we're just trying to because those aren't typically things that are budgeted for. We commit fund balance, but we don't necessarily budget for them. So we've put $200,000 in the budget. Line 13, that's adding into the expenditure side of the budget, the school site level carryovers, because what that does is it's building up the expenditure side of the budget for the allowability for them to spend those funds. And I actually covered everything that I had wanted to. Line 19 represents the fact that we had less revenue than expenditures. So expenditures exceeded the revenues put in by almost $1 million. And on line 20, you can see that the revenue versus expenditures for the restricted side are in excess. So the revenues for the new funding, and as you can see, that's lines 3, 4, and 5. Those revenue sources exceed the restricted expenditures that have been entered so far. So we are still developing a plan for the student support and professional development discretionary block grant. That's a huge title for a categorical. I'm sure it's going to develop some wacky acronym, but it has yet to come out. But we haven't developed a plan yet for those funds. We are working on that, and that will be coming to you soon. And as well as line 5, there's the additional funding for the Tier 1 ELOP Thrive program. We discussed this the last time at the August meeting. We are working on developing a plan to spend additional Thrive funds with a capital improvement project. And once we have more of that solidified, that information will be coming forward as well.
I just wanted to clarify, did I hear you say that we're overspending in the restricted areas?
No,
Okay.
no,
is that-
please let me clarify. Thank you for
Yeah,
asking that
because
question.
I don't see that, so I just want to make sure I was clear what you were saying.
Yes, that was not what I was saying. I'm sorry if that's
Okay.
if it was conveyed that way. Line 20 represents revenue versus expenditures. It's a positive amount, so that's meaning the revenues coming in or that we've added to the budget exceed the expenditures that we've that offset it. Basically by so we have 3.4 million more in revenue than expenditures that we've added to the budget on the restricted side. Now, line 19 shows that the expenditures exceed the revenues input that have been entered for the unrestricted side. Or, yes, the unrestricted side.
Unrestricted, okay.
Unrestricted,
I think
restricted.
I just heard you say unrestricted and I thought you said restricted. I got
Okay.
it. Okay, we're good.
So what's the meaning of asterisk in line 19?
The asterisk is next to the R.
Yeah.
That's indicative of the asterisk on line 17 and line 15. And what those are is they are expenditures represented and recognized in the restricted general fund. However, they are in special education, and that requires additional contribution from the unrestricted general fund to pay for those expenditures because special education is grossly underfunded. The federal and state grossly underfund special education, so in order to make up the difference, that comes and is offset by a contribution from the unrestricted general fund
It's like,
to take care of the
it's
difference.
something like 80% underfunded. It's like some huge amount.
It's correct. It's grossly underfunded and has been for many, many years. So all of those budget augmentations are represented here in the various lines of the budget. And this is now what the 25-26 budget looks like for the unrestricted and restricted sides of the budget. Revenues and expenditures, and those categories increased or decreased based on the changes represented in the slide before. And then these changes to revenues and expenditures now roll into the ending fund balances represented here on slide 9. I would like to show you that we are on line 4, still continuing to deficit spend in both the unrestricted and restricted general sides of the general fund. The unrestricted side is growing due to the fact that we just have expenditures exceeding the incoming revenues. And we are projecting to end the unrestricted general fund with a little over $10 million. And the restricted side is anticipated to end with a little over 7.7. I absolutely expect that line 6 for the restricted side will change by first interim once we have a plan for spending some of those Thrive dollars as well as spending the new categorical program, the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. Once we add expenditures, that ending fund balance will decline or diminish on the restricted side of the general fund. And as for the commitments for this year, as you can see on the left-hand side, we still have the electric bus battery replacement. We have the future COP payment that has gone down. Textbook adoption has gone down as we are using those funds. And facility improvements commitment has also gone down because some of those have been earmarked already in the budget to be spent.
And the COP payment is going down because we're offsetting it with developer fees?
The payment in 25-26 in the budget, yes. However, because we are deficit spending, there's not enough fund balance once we do our 2%, once we do our 3%, once we do the electric bus battery replacement, textbook adoptions, and facility improvements. There's not enough to keep earmarking an entire future COP payment out in future years. So that's the difference.
So we better hope that all these houses are built.
Yes.
How are we going to make this payment when the time comes if we don't get the money we expect? Up to $2.5 million.
Always, and that's this is where I want to clarify things, and I'd like to, if I could, move on to the multi-year projection, because I think it's really important and it will answer your question, Member Phillips. So this is the multi-year projection, and as you can see, this includes the current fiscal year that we're now in. We're in 25-26, as well as the required 2 subsequent years of information. And I want you to know, Member Phillips, in line 4 up there, the 93, the 95, and the $93 million, each of those years, a COP payment is included in the budget. This commitment that we've had has just been in excess of what we have in our budget. It's just been a placeholder sitting there, holding on to a portion of the fund balance in anticipation, but it's always been in our budget. So it is budgeted, it is guaranteed to get paid in these fiscal years. Does that make sense? Okay.
Not quite. You said it is built in, but in the previous page, the number was not built in. The number was 700,000.
There is a payment that's going to happen in 25-26. It's budgeted in line 3 of the unrestricted, in that 60 million number at the top. It's absolutely, it's a portion of it's there, a portion of it's in the budget in Fund 25.
So committed table is not part of line 3 budget?
No,
line?
the commitments are a portion of what we expect to end the year with, and we're taking what we expect to end the year with, that 10.2 million in line 6, and carving out portions of it and committing those funds. It has to do with the ending fund balance and not with current year expenditures.
Can I say it different? Maybe this will
Sure.
help the way that I see it. At the end of the year, we have all this money that's carryover. And then we are committing that money to certain, we could call them projects, before we create the next year's budget.
So are you saying those commitments on this page are just carryovers?
Yeah.
Not full amounts that we need to commit to those purposes?
We have carryover money and we're committing that money for the budget, for the next year's budget.
I'll think about it.
That's my simple way of explaining it.
It's
Yeah.
the payments are absolutely included in the expenditure lines.
Right.
I can absolutely attest to that. It wouldn't be a fiscally sound
Responsible,
practice
right?
to not include it in the budget.
Right.
Because it's absolutely going to happen. It's a given. We have to pay it, and it's going to take place. So we absolutely account for it in the expenditures. I would like to, on the multi-year projection, show on line 2, we basically are experiencing flat revenue, and that is due to our enrollment. Basically, while we have growth in the primary grades, we aren't seeing that it's not sustaining us for the fact that we are still declining in enrollment. And hopefully with these new projects, we will start seeing either flat or actually some growth in the district. That would be awesome if we could see that. But our graduating classes are exceeding our primary grades and the new kids coming in at the younger levels. However, we have had an uptick this year with TK in particular because of the changing of the birth date and going to September 1. So hopefully we will begin to experience some actual growth. And we also are utilizing a new software program to help with better forecasting enrollment projections and seeing, it's a much more robust way of trying to figure out what's going and tracking enrollments. And hopefully we are going to start seeing some real growth here in the district with these rather large projects that are going in. I do want to highlight that, as you've seen before, we still have anticipated budget reductions beginning in 26-27. They are currently projected to be $4.1 million, both in 26-27 and 27-28. And you can see that even with the diminishing commitments on the right-hand side for 25-26 and 26-27, the reductions are still necessary, as well as a small transfer from Fund 17 in 27-28 in order to keep us at the required 5% reserve levels for each of the years.
So that's next year.
Mhm.
And what is the plan for discussing what these reductions are going to be? When do we start that?
That's a great question. So that's part of the road ahead. We are currently working on a budget stabilization plan, and that will be coming to you all for approval and parameters and discussion here very soon. And there will be a lot of details and a lot of information to discuss with regards to what could potentially make up the 4.1 million of reductions for 26-27.
Do any of these revenue projections have an assumption for a COLA?
Yes, they absolutely have the recommended COLA and what it's anticipated to be. I'm sorry that I don't have an assumption slide in this slide deck, but it is what has been put out by the state of California for the anticipated COLA. However, it always changes, as you know. We will get anticipated COLA based on an update in November or December, and it'll be the gosh, I can picture his face. I know who it is, and I can't think of the right.
That one guy?
Yes, that one guy. He's going to be giving an update, and it comes out prior to Legislative Analyst's Office. They come out with an economic outlook, and it's usually, I think, the very first week of December. However, they do present to the CBO Symposium in November and kind of have an idea of where things are looking, and it'll be good to know because of, like we had talked about before, taxes for the folks in the LA region were deferred and able to be paid in October. So they'll have those revenue receipts in, and they'll have a better outlook because that makes up 20% of the state's revenues. How things are looking, and if we're still on track and revenues are still projected to on point, and what the COLAs are going to look like for the budget proposal that the governor puts out in January.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll be working on that stabilization plan, and that will be coming to you all soon. We're reviewing all open positions for savings through potential attrition. We're doing ongoing budget monitoring, refining enrollment and revenue projections continuously based on the best numbers and information we have at every reporting period. And you will be in December at the first interim, we are required to provide a detailed list of budget cuts for 26-27 and 27-28 to be approved to provide to the San Diego County Office of Ed. So that will be taking place in December, but we will be having discussions before that will shape what that looks like for December. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, this was in my notes for my board report section, but this is an appropriate time to bring it up. As part of our budget stabilization plan, without taxing district resources too much, would it be possible to explore options for monetizing some of our real estate while retaining ownership of those assets? That's really vague, right?
No, it's not. I told you, you said make it a moneymaker.
Yeah, and I don't know what all that might be, right? Not my area of expertise, but I have studied a little bit on this. We hear a lot about workforce housing. I don't figure that Ramona Unified, with our limited resources, could really take on a project like that ourselves, but there might be opportunities to partner with developers using some of the real estate that we have already. If we brought the land and they brought the building, maybe there's something. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on it if it quickly becomes something that is just so unfeasible that we don't spend time on it. But I know San Diego Unified has been working on this. I talked with our board colleague in Lakeside. They have something that they're working on as well. And, we've talked many times about real estate that we have. I'm not looking at sale of real estate assets. I'm looking at ways to monetize our assets while retaining ownership. Do I need to do something more in order to formalize this? Do you need me to request an agenda topic? What do I need to do to move this along a little bit?
Yeah, staff can look at that and look at the available resources we have through various avenues and bring some ideas back for board exploration, possibly subcommittees or those types of things. We can bring ideas, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not super interested in the establishment of subcommittees at this time, just the very early, just what possibilities might exist. I do intend to meet with Andrew down in Lakeside soon to find out what exactly they're working on. He and I had a lengthy conversation about this recently, and I am interested. So I don't know, Brian, if you would want to have that conversation with him as well.
Can I say this is definitely related to our budget?
Yeah.
However, that is a long-term project.
It is.
We won't really see the benefits until
Nope.
a few years
Beyond
out.
the multi-year projection for sure.
However, it has the potential to pay off completely the COP, the potential to also bring in a consistent revenue to actually, it does. I mean, it depends on what we decide to do. I mean, I've already talked to Brian. There's two potential sites that we can build right now without any issues.
And I understand that there have been some changes I don't know if it's really changes, but it has been brought to my attention that school districts might not be held to the same standard for CEQA that an outside developer would be on their own, which saves money and time.
Yeah.
And has been a hindrance for some building here in our community. And if we have a way to work within what's legal, then that can only just benefit the community.
Absolutely. I mean,
I can add to this conversation a little bit. I did not understand why our school district has 7 pieces of real property undeveloped that why hasn't this happened? Why haven't we done something with it? And so, not being an expert in the area, I called Steve Powell and asked to meet with him, and I showed him the properties. He was very familiar with all of our properties, and he could explain in detail the encumbrances and the issues that make it very difficult to sell our real property. Right. A variety of issues.
And I understand, and I'm not talking about any of the vacant lots at all.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a totally different idea. And so but we would have to have a committee to discuss it. I don't think really now is the time.
I think it just starts
Yeah.
with staff exploring what the possibilities
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah.
So is there a way do we need to formalize that direction as part of this item we're on right now?
I'm in favor of giving direction to continue or to begin those discussions and research.
Do we need a motion to do this, Brian, or is this conversation enough?
I think this conversation is enough for us to bring some of the big ideas that are out there right now through CSBA and different avenues to bring to the board for the board to then give more honed-in
Specific
direction
guidelines.
on which avenues to explore more. To
Okay.
keep bringing information.
All right, well, keep
Yeah.
you posted. and
Excellent.
I'm ready to help in whatever
Yeah.
way I can.
Great, thank you.
All right, you're done, correct?
I am.
Questions still, yeah?
Any questions for staff on this agenda item?
Well, yeah, there's also, seems like our deficit increased from the previous number we had 2.5 million to 4.1 million that we need to do reduction in the budget in the future 2 years.
It actually, at budget adoption, it was 4.25 for each year, so it's gone down slightly, but it's pretty much remains the same.
Last number I heard was 2.5 million, but that makes me very concerned to see the ways how we can cut our expenses, eliminate what's unnecessary. For example, what caught my attention recently that on August 21st, the news came out, for example, that the Trump administration ended Obama-era support mandates for English learners. So to clarify, the 215 guidance directed school districts to offer language acquisition classes, support for disabilities, and access to grade-level curriculum materials to students not proficient in English. That has been rescinded. So I understand that there is some other federal legislation maybe still in effect, but maybe somebody from the budget or a superintendent later, maybe not now, something we can talk about later. It can be explained to us which services exactly were no longer required to offer and how much money will the district save by eliminating them, both indirect expenses and staff time. So while I understand that offering these support services is beneficial of course, and but I'm concerned that we may not be able to afford the optional services with the looming budget cuts up to over $4 million that we have to make in the next 2 years, each year. So we may have to eliminate services we're no longer required to offer, similar to what we have done, what we did with ethnic studies.
So, I believe you emailed a very similar question like that to staff this week, and staff responded this afternoon in email. Do you want to mention your response quickly?
Yeah, we just sent that last night. And to answer your question, there are no current actions to support that group of students that are being eliminated or cut. So all of the current expenses we have there are going to be maintained in the future.
Everything that we do is required.
Yeah,
Yes.
most of our
Yeah.
guidelines for education come from the state, not the federal government.
Yeah, there were some links in there to all the legal statutes on why we have to do that. And we also discussed the federal piece that you were mentioning on that topic, and that it did not do anything to change California's requirements.
But I just, to address your concerns, I think they're very real. We do have to look for ways to cut. There's no doubt about it. But I just wanted to add one thing in to it. And I think this is why Dawn's thinking about if we can make revenues by our own assets. It does make a lot of sense, because what's happened is since COVID, everything is more money. Everything. It's not that we're spending more money, it's that everything costs more money. So that's our problem. And that's why the expenses are going up. So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that, because I don't see the district going out of their way to overspend at all.
So are there any other questions for staff on this agenda item?
I'll move acceptance of the unaudited actuals presented this evening.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any last chance questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you did a great job explaining everything. I think that was one of the best explanations we've heard.
Thanks, Tori.
It was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Really, really detailed.
Thank you very much.
And clear.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of Roger's motion? Aye.
No.
Aye.
Dawn's motion, excuse me.
It's fine.
Aye.
Aye
Sabrina's
for
got
me.
it.
Any opposition? All right, motion carries unanimously. This is the Tori Long show tonight.
It sure is.
Everybody gets their turn in the barrel. They do. Next item on the agenda is, I think, the item H7, approval of resolution 2025-2026-02, adopting the GAN limit.
Correct. Thank you, President Drum. Each year, school districts are required by the California Constitution to calculate and report their appropriations limit, also known as the GAN limit. The GAN limit was established to control government spending by capping the amount of tax revenue a public agency can use for its operations. Even though most districts are well below the limit, the law still requires that the calculation be reported annually. The board must approve a resolution because it serves as the district's official certification of compliance.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Comments or questions for staff before we vote? All those in favor? Aye. No opposition. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item H8. This is the approval of resolution number 2025-2026-03 to update committed fund balances in accordance with GASB board statement 54 and board policy 3100.
Governing Board, it's recommended that resolution number 2025-2026-03 be approved as presented with the amounts discussed in the 24-25 unaudited actuals presentation.
Yeah, this aligns with everything that you just went over, and so very much appreciated. So I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any last chance questions or comments?
Yeah, I had some questions about numbers, but I don't see them at the moment. Oops. Okay. Sorry, I thought I marked it. Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item H9, which is the approval of Proposition 28, Arts and Music in Schools Funding Annual Report.
Thank you, President Drum. For my last item of the evening, I am presenting you with the Arts and Music in Schools Funding Annual Report. Prop 28 provides dedicated state funding to support arts and music programs in schools, and with that funding comes specific accountability requirements. Each year, districts must prepare and submit an annual report showing how the funds were spent and how they supported arts and music education for students. Board approval for the Prop 28 Arts and Music in Schools Annual Report is necessary because it serves as the district's formal confirmation that the report is accurate, transparent, and compliant with state requirements.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments for staff? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item I-1, which is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Drum, members of the board. Tonight I want to, as usual, acknowledge our RUSD's amazing staff and students, our certificated and classified. We have some little more unique circumstances, though, with this report. I want to recognize them not only for an amazing start to the 25-26 school year, but also as a result of recent events that have occurred really over the last 8 days that some school districts have never ever had to deal with or haven't had to deal with in a very long time. The whole school evacuation at Hanson was of course unexpected, required a lot of our staff, students, and parents in their efforts and commitment on that day. Specifically, our Hanson staff rallied together to get to feed our students in creative ways since they could not come up to the cafeteria. Halfway through that, we had to stop that process and get students loaded onto our buses safely in order to get students to a safe location. Part of that process involved 11 bus drivers who answered a call, an immediate call for action to be taken. Some of them left family, friends, lunch items that they had ordered, other daily tasks and events in order to respond immediately to that call for an evacuation. Both the RCC staff, as mentioned before, and the Hanson staff rallied that afternoon, most without eating lunch themselves, along with district office staff, to reunite Hanson students with their parents. The food service staff at RCC stayed. They had already done lunch for their site for the day, but they stayed, provided lunch for about half of the Hanson students once they got there, since they hadn't eaten. It was a very large task for them to take on. Hanson parents were extremely patient as we systematically dismissed students, assuring that they were with their known parents or guardians. That took additional time for everybody, and parents were very understanding of that process and very patient. This week we did have some debriefing time with our teams to look at what reunification will look like in the future. Brought a lot of different resources together on samples and ideas, and we're in the process of looking at that, including our tech team to create pre-designated reports that have all of the information that we need rather than us having to go to different resources. So very proud of our teams for debriefing that. In addition to that, our hearts are heavy tonight for some of our local families that have experienced some tragic losses of loved ones that were taken away too soon in just these last recent days. We remember those families tonight, especially, that were impacted from the events of the terrorist attack in New York 24 years ago today, and the approximately 2,996 lives lost. Tonight, men in our country are also mourning the murder of a popular politician whose life was cut short due to a senseless act of violence, along with our educational colleagues in Evergreen, Colorado, who experienced what is either the 47th shooting or the 158th shooting in a school in America for the 2025 year. Reflecting back on the events around 9/11, most of us can recall the sentiment of our country and the way we came together to get through some very challenging times. I hope that tonight and as we move forward, we can reflect on those dark days and those days, weeks, and months that followed that brought us together in ways that hadn't happened in a very long time. I've personally seen the Ramona community rally in this collaborative way to surround our community members in times of grief and loss. Tonight it's just as important as it was on September 12th of 2001 for all of us to look to our neighbors, our brothers, our students, colleagues, those in our greater community, and reach out with a supportive hand. We never know what others are going through, and many, many times we can be that supportive voice that meets a need that we didn't know about, as was demonstrated last week with our Hanson students. They needed us and the entire district and community to step up to keep them safe during a potentially challenging time. So Just wanted to thank everybody again, all those that were involved in those recent events, and just for their steadfastness. And I think we got on the bus. I went on the bus that took the Hanson staff back to their sites, and everyone was starved and tired, and but felt good about the accomplishment of getting all over 500 of their students taken care of and home safely. So thank you again for all those involved, and here's to the continuation of a successful 25-26 school year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we will head to board comments. Maya, why don't we start with you?
Well, I had great pleasure doing this school site visit at the Ramona High School, as well as doing going to back to school nights at every school level. I did not make to multiple elementary schools this year, but I did at least one, Mount Woodson Elementary School, as well as I did middle school, Olive Pierce, and Ramona High School in Montecito. So I was less successful than previous years, but it was the best I could do under current circumstances. Since I have not received a response from either board president or the superintendent regarding my previous agenda item requests, I would like to formally resubmit them in accordance with our bylaw 9322 and governance protocol of the board. So I respectfully request that the following action item be placed on the agenda for our October meeting. Quotation marks, remove paragraph 13, ethnic studies, from Administrative Regulation 6143, courses of study, until the California legislature appropriates funding for this mandate. I also respectfully request that the following action item be placed on the agenda for our October meeting, quotation marks, remove the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian from the revised secondary core literature list for grades 7 to 12, and from any other approved lists, and prohibit its use anywhere in RUSD, including the ethnic studies curriculum. In February, President Trump signed an executive order titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, which seeks to prohibit transgender women and girls from competing in female sports at educational institutions that receive federal funding. The federal court ruling in State of Tennessee versus Cardona vacated the Biden administration's Title IX regulations that included gender identity. The schools were to revert to the 2020 Title IX regulations based on sex assigned at birth. And the next thing, Trump's executive order keeping men out of women's sports directs federal agencies to strip federal funding from any educational institution that allows transgender women and girls to compete in female sports. In August, just recently, Trump said that any California school district that doesn't adhere to our transgender policies will not be funded. So to protect our district's federal funding and to preserve fair athletic opportunities for girls, Dan Summers and I are co-sponsoring a resolution to align our district with the federal definition of Title IX. We respectfully request that this resolution titled Supporting Title IX and Fairness in Girls Interscholastic Sports be placed on the October board meeting agenda as an action item. This resolution has already been unanimously adopted by both the Kern County Board of Education and the Redlands.
May I interrupt you for a second? Please keep your comments brief on items that may come back before this board. If they do come back and we have engaged in conversation or discussion, that would poison the water and potentially violate the Brown Act. So please keep those comments brief.
Redlands, so the resolution has already been unanimously adopted by both the Kern County Board of Education and the Redlands Unified School District, which is also ironically RUSD. Given its adoption by other boards, we believe that this is a sound.
Can we stop this? I am a little concerned. Not that I agree or disagree, but if this is going to be an agenda item, then we would hear this level of detail on the agenda item.
Your request has been noted. Please move on.
This sound and appropriate resolution for our board to consider as well.
Your request has been noted. Please move on.
And I may excuse myself from the meeting if this continues.
For the sake of accuracy and transparency, I would like to the proposed resolution to be attached to the official meeting
Please
minutes.
do not bring that up and do not read it in an open meeting that is not on the agenda.
Understand that this is
If
not...
you continue, we will not have the ability to bring it back. It would violate the Brown Act. Please stop what you're doing.
I checked the legal, it will not. Understand...
We have legal recommendations to stop these types of conversations. So please stop. Moving on. Dan, do you have an update or a report for your board?
Yes, two. First, Brian, thanks for recognizing the families and the friends and everyone who's been impacted by these American tragedies. It's good of you to bring it up.
Hold it till the right time.
Good of you to bring it up.
I'm interested, but not right now when it's not on our agenda.
And the other item is there's lots of sub-stories that came out of that evacuation. I mean, I think the school bus drivers who came in off duty in a hurry, jumped in buses and evacuated those kids, I think that as a school board, and there were other people too, the food providers, but I think we ought to issue a commendation to those from the school board, from those people who took that action and came back and went to work.
Certificates.
I'd like to propose that.
Appreciate your suggestion.
Mhm.
Love the idea. We've had a similar conversation, and something will be coming forward.
Ah, good. All right. And the other thing was, one of the little sub-chapters that I really liked, I found out about it, was that the little kids, the first, second, third graders, were really concerned about what's going on in my school today. And the good thing was the older kids, the fifth and sixth graders, took them under their wing and calmed them down and took them to the buses, and out of nowhere these older kids stood up and did something quite quite effective. Appreciate that. That's it.
Don, you're up.
Yeah, a little longer than usual for me tonight. Tori's report, it was brought up some questions for me, not your report itself, but just aspects of how our district operates. So from my notes tonight, we've seen these kinds of reports before, but it might have been a little while. A report on special ed funding, where we get it, how much we get, how much we spend, what kinds of things we spend on, and if there's an encroachment to the general fund, what that is. Tori touched on it tonight a little bit, but it wasn't the right time to ask for that level of detail. So if it's not too much, and it doesn't need to be right away, just at whatever time is appropriate to report that to the board, I would appreciate it. And a similar kind of report on transportation in our district. There have been times where, transportation also created an encroachment to our general fund budget, and I don't know if that's the situation now or if it's not. So maybe what funding we get from the government, if any, what the rider contributions total would be, how many riders are paying, how many riders are free, and then I don't know if we come out ahead or behind or where we are if there's an encroachment there. So that kind of report whenever it's appropriate. I think you probably do these things from time to time, so just letting us know that. Okay, I spent a little more time at schools than I had in my calendar originally. Of course, some of us went on the site visit to Ramona High School. That was a really great morning spent. Thank you for organizing us for that, and in coordination with the pep rally. That was fun. I hadn't been to a pep rally at Ramona High in a couple of years, so not too long, but it had been a couple of years. So that was a fun way to end the site visit. And of course, on our calendars were the back to school nights at various school sites. I had the opportunity to attend at Montecito High School last night. Was that just last night? Oh boy, it seems like a long time ago. Last night. I saw Maya there, and the the teachers and administrator did a nice job of greeting the parents, making them feel welcome, and providing a lot of good information. It was nice to see community participation also. Most notably, the Ramona Library had their librarian there with books of a variety of type to give away for free to any students who wanted them. And then I had scheduled to attend Ramona Community Campus's back to school night, but that on my calendar got bumped when some of my family members discovered they couldn't take their kids to that event, so I stayed home figuring I would visit RCC at some other time, and I watched a whole crew of little ones during that event. What I wasn't expecting was to spend extra time at RCC on the evacuation day from Hanson. So that is RCC's early release day for their Montessori kids. They get out at noonish, and I had arrived early, sitting in the parking lot to pick up one of my little grandchildren from that school while all of this was happening at Hanson. And Brian, as you know, was messaging us, and I finally had to call him and say, okay, I'm in the parking lot already. Should I be here? Should I be somewhere else? And he suggested that I might be wise to stay put and wait for the arrival of 3 other grandchildren to come on school buses. So that is exactly what I did. So unintentionally, I was able to, for the most part, observe and participate a little bit in all that was happening on that day. So in my notes, I just have kudos to staff at both Hanson and RCC, as well as the district staff who quickly and efficiently evacuated Hanson students, rehoming them temporarily at RCC. I happened to be on campus and was able to observe the relocation of the Hanson students as they arrived on the buses, as well as the reunification of students with their families. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, we have drilled on school evacuations. We have written plans. We've seen them. We know what the plans are. We know what law enforcement's role will be and what we're going to do to get kids off campus and the plan for where we take them. But I hadn't really thought through exactly what that looks like when we're ready, when we have them somewhere else, then what do we do? So it was interesting to watch what had clearly been planned out well. Getting those Hanson kids onto the RCC campus. I think they went to classrooms, maybe by grade level. RCC doesn't have enough classrooms for all those kids. In fact, it was the most kids I've ever seen at RCC because we brought about twice as many kids to the school as ever have attended at RCC. So that was pretty interesting. There were a few complicated moments, but overall really well done. Everyone was calm. The staff was professional. The kids were safe and felt safe. I didn't see anybody looking afraid or even worried. Some of these kids have never been on a school bus before. So that went really well, and thank you to everyone who is involved in that. And I don't know what your debrief included. Yeah, our reunification with parents was a little rocky, at least for the time that I was there. One of the questions I was asked is, well, obviously, who are you here to pick up? Fine. Who's their teacher? Well, I don't know. And there was some organization of parents by grade level for their students, but I was there already with one little TK, ready to pick up another TK from another school, a first grader and a third grader. They were not all in the same place. So, the test run there of how to do it brought the reality home to me of how complicated these things can be. But anyway, thank you very much to everybody who was involved in that. I never for a minute felt like our kids were handled in any way that wasn't absolutely the right way to do it. Yep. That's it.
Thanks for those kind words for staff. That's nice. Mr. Dome.
I've been going through all my mom's stuff, and Don, you just kind of reminded me of something that I just went through. My mom, she ended up writing the entire safety plan for for two schools in Poway. One was Tierra Bonita and the other one was Black Mountain Middle School. Back in the early 80s, before there was even such a thing, it turned out to be her master's project. And I'm digging even more, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she was a substitute in Ramona Unified. So that was a surprise to me.
Roger, my condolences about your mom's
I didn't realize
passing.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for being very kind about my mom's passing. I got a chuckle out of Dan's because he told me that I had to behave.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. But I did want to, share my condolences with, the students and even the parents that have passed away here recently, as well as the children in Colorado. The one thing that I want to make sure is that there's just no tolerance for any violence going on in any of our schools, period, or any school. It just shouldn't happen. And then the issue with Charlie Kirk and him being assassinated, we should have no political violence. None of these things are helpful. In my own classroom, and I'm sure it happened here at Ramona High, kids found out quick. They don't even need phones. I don't know how they know. They just know. It's the weirdest thing. Somehow people tell, it goes around like wildfire. Everybody already, and so I was dealing with that when that happened. But I think it's, my heart goes out to his family and his kids. And then it just happens to be 9/11. I don't know if you planned that. But I remember distinctly being in my classroom. Maybe Leslie remembers this. Being in my classroom, that happening, and I just happened to have a TV in my classroom of all things, and so I turned it on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have reception. So we were watching all of this happen in the classroom, and then the second plane hit the tower, and we were just all shocked. And I'm saddened for everybody's loss, and I'm grateful for all the people, all the firefighters and police, EMTs, everybody that helped. I think it's important that we give tribute to all those that have lost their lives, and the difference that they made in our own community and in this nation. And I think it's really important to remember and to honor them. And anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. I'll try to make this quick. I want to welcome Brittany Workman to the high school. I think she's a good addition. She has an endless amount of energy, which is going to be a good fit with our current staff and at the high school. I look for wonderful things from that staff. They're putting together a really good team. I'd like to thank all members of the NJROTC who came here tonight, and Commander Jordan for making it happen for us. They did a great job on a really appropriate night to have them present our colors. Please pass that on to them. I would like to welcome, although they split the minute we started talking about budget stuff, it was time to go to bed for them. No offense, Tori, but they're high school students. I'd like to welcome them to this group and to our process and thank them for their participation. I'd also like to thank the staff at Ramona Elementary, Barnett Elementary, and James Dukes for, those are the three schools that I was able to visit during back to school night. They put on wonderful presentations. There's an excitement of a new school year at an elementary school that just cannot be matched. It is magical. And every one of these schools has their own unique culture and vibe going on. And boy, home run hit by those staff members. I'm sure all of them at all schools, but these are the ones that I have a personal experience attending. So, and then, you know, I've been involved in not evacuations, but operations where we were moving 85 adults, firefighters. As a matter of fact, we went to New York City for the collapse. 85 of us that night, that day. And it was tough getting 85 adults and a couple of dogs on the same page, on buses, on planes. I can't imagine 517 elementary school kids on buses, fed, hydrated, feeling, not just being safe, but feeling safe, which is important too. Clearly being safe is our priority, but making them feel safe is incredibly important. And staff did that. They made these kids feel loved. They didn't make them feel loved. They knew they were loved when that was going on. And I know our teachers would have done anything to comfort them, and did comfort them. We have lessons to learn, and every single operation that any organization goes through has to learn from their experiences and get better. Us too. There will never be a perfect evacuation of 517 kids, ever. Our goal is to do it well and then get better next time. Right? Our goal should always be to do it well and get better next time. So I look forward to, you know, Hanson's staff and all of our leadership involved putting together an after action report and taking that show on the road to the other elementary schools and saying, you know what, this is what we didn't think of until we were forced to think of it. There were things that we didn't know. And Dawn got to see some of them.
I did.
And it's, you know, at one of these, if we have the staff, somebody should be a scribe to take notes. This is what we're doing. This is what's working. This is what's clunky sometimes. And parents they have one or two, or in your case, three.
And holding the hand of number 4, yeah.
Foci.
Yes.
That's what your goal was. It wasn't the other 513 kids.
Right. I would never have gone into that situation. My preference would have been to be way out of the way.
Right.
Just happened to be there. Yeah.
And you know what? The parents don't.
It was
they sometimes empathize and understand, but they have a focus. And we have 517 of those individual foci. So thank you to staff. It was a hectic day. The district office was a ghost town because people were doing their job. There were meetings that were canceled on very short notice. And guess what? That's exactly what we should have done. We should have canceled those meetings on very short notice or no notice. And everybody do what they're trained to do and expected to do in that specific time. So I can't thank staff enough. I love your commentary earlier. Superintendent is all over it in terms of, you know, how do we recognize our staff, our not just our bus drivers, but the food services folks, the cabinet who dropped what they were doing, the staff at RCC who said, yeah, come on over. How do we make you more welcome on our campus? Every single one of those staff members at Hanson, everybody just had a direction, a job to do, and did it well. And that's a huge undertaking. I mean, I keep coming back to 517 kids.
And Darren, you should have seen what happened. Like, so I don't know if any of the kids had lunch at Hanson before they migrated to RCC. But as soon as they got there and were assigned to where they were supposed to be, class by class, they were going through the cafeteria and getting their lunch at RCC. I did see a staff member pull up with crates of food, but I have no idea how they really pulled that off. You know, hungry kids got fed quickly.
Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll stop there. But let's all just remember that conversation is healthy. Debate is healthy. Disagreement is healthy, especially, and you can't be disagreeable. And speech is just that. It is healthy, whether you agree with it or not. It's still healthy. So with that, we're out of here before 10 o'clock tonight. We will adjourn this meeting, and we will be back in October. I don't remember the date. It should be here October 9th. So our next meeting is October 9th. Thank you for coming, and thank you for staff for all the hard work to prepare for this meeting.